So, E.T. Arguably, actually, not even arguably, it is my favorite movie of all time. I've watched this movie for, I know, at least 20 years. I guess going on 21 years now. I remember watching it when I was 4 years old on VHS, and I've watched it since then at least. Um, when I was a kid, there was one or two scenes that did scare me a little bit. For some reason, I kept watching it. Don't ask me why. I was a little kid. Anyway, this movie has probably been one of the main films that shaped how I grew up in a sense. Um, I don't know. It's this movie is just really important to me in general, and started my love for Spielberg films, and then it just eventually became my favorite movie of all time, and has always been my favorite movie of all time. It was a totally different experience getting to watch this in theaters on its 40th anniversary. At that time, I had never cried watching this movie, but I finally, when we watched it in theaters, me and my wife, we both cried, but we were both by ourselves in that theater. It was just me, her, and the movie. It was great. It's one of the best movie experiences I've ever had, honestly. Um, I don't even know where to start, honestly. Um, this movie means a lot to me, I guess, because for the longest time, the VHS I had was my mom's when she was a kid, and I don't know what happened. That VHS either got lost or sold, or the the VCR ate it. I really don't remember. Um, if you don't know, it was a black tape and it had the green top on it. And the case it come in was the just a slipcover cardboard case. It wasn't a big plastic one. Because I have a copy on VHS now, and it come in a big plastic case. Sorry, and it's just a all black tape. I do own this movie on 4K, Blu-ray, and VHS. Only on VHS just because that's the classic look from when I was a kid. Uh, and this movie in 4K is probably one of the best restorations I've seen of an 80s film on 4K. The grain's still there, it looks great. And the only downside of the 4K resto is you can really see the blue screen and green, the blue screen that they used back then, especially during the flight scenes and stuff at the end of the movie. Um, Henry Thomas is great in this movie. Drew Barrymore's great. I couldn't tell you who Michael's actor's name is after all these years. I keep forgetting his name. Uh, I think he had some. I think he had a battle with addiction at one time, but I think he's doing okay now. Because I remember when the 40th anniversary was coming out, Drew Barrymore had the cast on her show, and they all caught up and stuff, and that was great. Uh, the special features that come with the 4K, which is it's the 40th anniversary 4K, so it's got the 40 years in the making of ET, and then I think it's got the original making ET, and then some other documentary on there. It's all really interesting to watch and to see how they made the film in the background and how Spielberg was back at that age, which I don't think he's changed a lot from what I understand. But I don't know. Just seeing the behind the scenes from Jaws and then the behind the scenes from this, it's like two totally different people, which to be fair is two totally different movies. And it's pretty decent little gap year wise in Spielberg's life between making these two films. But you can definitely tell he's a lot more arrogant and maybe a little too cocky when they're making Jaws and all the issues they had with the shark and with the shoot and the ocean and everything. So I feel like this is a lot easier to him. Uh, I know he's very family oriented anyway in all his films, and this is really apparent in this one. The relationship between Elliot, Michael, and Gertie is just, they're really close, which I guess that would happen being kids of divorcees. I guess you kind of got to stick together, and I get that, and that's probably a big part of it. And that definitely drives from Spielberg's life, from his parents divorcing when he was young, and then him also having sisters when that happened. So, anyway, I think they're still pretty close to this day, him and his sisters. Um, but you know enough about Spielberg, or at least if you've seen The Fablemans, and you can watch some of his older works, you can kind of see where the inspirations for some stuff comes from. Um, I really don't know where he got the inspiration for the movie mostly at all. Or I know the main premise was a friend for a kid who felt alone, basically. Because even though him and his siblings were close, Elliot still kind of felt like an outsider, I guess, compared to his brother and his sister. I guess because he was the middle child, first of all, and that's always a thing, being the middle child. I'm just, I don't know, put you in a weird place. Uh, I really don't know. I was the oldest, and I haven't had to deal with divorced parents, so I really can't relate in that sense to him, or how his family was, or anything like that, or really to the character of Elliot. The main thing I can relate to is the feeling of loneliness he had before he met E.T. I can really understand that. And I remember for the longest time when I was a kid, I always wished E.T. was real. And I always thought that'd be so cool. Now that I think about it, it would be cool, but also kind of terrifying at the same time. Uh, Not really terrifying. It'd just be a little crazy and a little off-putting, but uh, so that'd be so cool. Speaking of, I remember seeing this Christmas ad a few years ago, where it was like a sequel to E.T., where Elliot was an adult and had his own kids and everything, and E.T. had ended up having offspring as well. I always thought that was such a neat commercial. That made me cry. Seeing that commercial made me cry. It's for some internet company or some telephone company, I think. I don't remember. It's a company I had never heard of. It was like telecommunications of some kind. But it was a really good commercial. I think it's like 10 minutes long. Uh, you probably just look up ET commercial or something on YouTube and find it. I recommend a watch, especially if you're a big fan of this movie. Um, I mean, I don't know. Uh, like as many movies as I've seen, and even all the blind spots I have movie wise, like I've never seen Schindler's List. I've never seen Close Encounters. I've not seen a lot of movies. I've never seen 2001. I've not seen this or that or whatever. But I don't think any of those will ever top this movie to me. Will they critically be better and probably technically be better films? That's a good possibility. But personally, on a personal level, nothing will beat this movie for me. Just because of how long I've had this film in my life and how important it is to me in general, and just how much I have related to it over the years, and how much more I've come to enjoy it as I've gotten older. I always liked this movie. I've never not liked this movie, but every year that I get older, I find myself liking it even better. I don't know if it's just because I've watched it so much or what, but this is genuinely will probably never be not my favorite movie of all time. It's obviously my Letterboxd top four. It's 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. That goes without question. Uh, but I swap my top four around every once in a while. Just depends on how I'm feeling. But one movie has always stayed in that top four, and it's E.T. And it will never leave my top four. And I know some people say like E.T. is a good movie, but it's not that good. And I'm inclined to disagree with those people because this movie's great, and you're wrong, and that's why you're wrong. I have no argument. I just think you're wrong. Uh, but no, seriously, I mean, everyone's they're most definitely probably movies better than E.T. filmmaking wise, but nothing's going to beat. Every time I watch this, hearing the score play of that first bicycle scene where they fly from the moon as the big iconic cover shot. I mean, nothing's going to beat that. And then nothing's going to beat the chase scene at the end with that soundtrack and the ending flight scene where they're flying in front of the setting sun. Nothing's going to beat that ending when ET's leaving and the goodbyes are so emotional. And nothing's going to beat when ET comes back to life and everyone is, well, everyone, and Elliot's like super excited. I don't know how to explain it. Nothing's going to beat those scenes for me. And then just the pure mystery and I would almost call it childlike innocence at the beginning of the movie. Him and E.T. and Elliot both, because they're both navigating a very new thing, but they're also both very curious. Because E.T.'s on a planet he's never been on before, and Elliot is meeting an alien, so that's pretty new and never have done before. Um, and this movie probably also made Reese's Pieces my favorite candy too. But in general, Reese's Cups is the goat of all candies anyway, especially chocolate. I don't care what you say. Reese's Cups and Reese's Pieces are it. Um, I say a lot. I'm so sorry. This the best part of this movie to me is probably the drunk ET scenes and when Gertie and her mom get home and she smacks ET with the refrigerator door. That scene has always made me laugh since I was 4 years old. Every single time I will laugh at that scene. And my wife's favorite scene is when E.T. is just meeting the siblings and they're running into the closet and Gertie stops and screams. And then E.T. runs in after him with his arms thrown up in the air screaming. My wife laughs at that every single time. And it always, I don't know, it just makes me happy hearing her laugh at it. And I laugh too because it's just funny in general. Uh, but no, I guess I always found that part funny, but until I first showed my wife this movie, I never really found it that funny. I guess, but sharing it with her makes it better. Um, okay, I think I'm pretty much done ranting about my favorite movie all the time. Finally, I found another movie I have a lot of opinions on since The Fablemans. And maybe this one don't get copyright claimed, and I have to just upload a static picture of me grappling about YouTube on YouTube. So hopefully, I've edited this enough that it'll be okay. Who knows? But anyway, I appreciate you watching if you made it this far, and I'll see you tomorrow.